It's difficult for me to begin talking. I haven't talked very much in the past 15 years. I don't know what you want me to say.
It isn't what I want you to say, but what you want to say yourself that is of interest to me.
I have no wants of that kind. It isn't my place to want to say anything.
Tell me about the quilt you're making.
It's for Lydia, the governor's daughter. It's a log cabin quilt. Every young woman should have one before marriage. Means the home. And at the centre there's always a red square, which means the hearth fire. This is just for every day. It's not nearly as fancy as the marriage quilts.
What are the marriage quilts?
Well, according to my friend, there are 3 quilts that every woman should sew with her own hand before marriage. The Tree of Paradise, the Flower Basket, the Pandora's Box. Sometimes in my days as a maid I would hang them all up to dry off from the wash together. It would look like flags hung out by an army off to war.
What else does that make you think of?
Well, since that time I have thought. Why is it that women have chosen to sew such flags and lay them on the tops of beds? For they make the bed the most noticeable thing in the room. And then I thought, it's for a warning. Because to you a bed may mean rest and comfort and a good night's sleep, but it isn't so for everyone. There are many dangerous things that may take place in a bed. It's where we are born, and that is our first peril. It's where women give birth, which is often their last. And that's where the act takes place between men and women, sir, which I will not mention, but I suppose you know what it is. Some call it love, others despair. Merely an indignity to suffer through. And finally, beds are what we sleep in. And where we dream, and often where we die. But I did not have such fancies about quilts until after I was already in prison. It's a place where you have a lot of time to think and no one to tell your thoughts through, so you tell them to yourself.
So, Grace, you consider a bed to be a dangerous place?
Are you laughing at me, sir?
No.
Well, of course I don't think of them as a dangerous place every time you get into one. Only on the occasions which I've mentioned.
Have I offended you somehow? I did not intend to.
Then I will believe you. Take you at your word and hope that such will be returned in the future.
Of course. Can you tell me what this is, Grace?
It's a beet.
Does it remind you of anything?
Sunday roast, I suppose. Always best to peel beets after they come out of the oven and not before. They can be a very hard vegetable to clean. Boiled beets don't have the same flavour at all. They can be a very hard to clean a stain from.
If you could make a quilt all for yourself, which pattern would you make?
I don't know, sir. Perhaps a Job's Tears. Or a Tree of Paradise. Or perhaps an old maid's puzzle. Because I am an old maid, wouldn't you say, sir? And I certainly have been very puzzled.
You must have thought about what pattern you would want, having spent so many years making them for others.
Saying what you really want, sir, brings bad luck, and then the good thing will never happen. You should be careful for wanting anything at all, lest you be punished for it. This is what happened to Mary Whitney.
Who's Mary Whitney?
A friend.
How did you know her?
It's a long time ago. It's not important, really.
Grace, you may be perfectly frank with me.
I have no reason not to be perfectly frank with you. A lady may conceal her thoughts as she has a reputation to lose, but I'm beyond that. I can say anything I like. Or if I don't wish to, I needn't say anything at all.
You don't care about my good opinion of you, Grace?
I've already been judged, sir. Whatever you think of me, it's all the same.
Judge rightly, Grace?
Rightly or wrongly doesn't matter. People want a guilty person. If there's been a crime, they want to know who did it. They don't like not knowing.
And you've given up hope.
Hope of what, sir?
Well, hope of being set free.
Why would they want to do that? A murderess is not an everyday thing. I live in hope of smaller matters. I live in hope of having a better breakfast tomorrow than I did today. They said they were going to make an example of me. That's why it was the death sentence, followed by the life sentence. But what's an example supposed to do afterwards? The story's over. How's one supposed to fill the rest of their time?
Do you not feel you have been treated unjustly?
I don't know what you mean, sir.
Well, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
I find that an odd choice of words, sir. I'm not a cat.
Oh no, I remember. Nor are you a dog.
Beg pardon, sir.
Let us begin at the beginning.
The beginning of what, sir?
The beginning of your life.
I was born, sir, like everyone else.
I have your confession here. Let me read you what you said in there.
That is not really my confession. That is just what the lawyers told me to tell them, and stuff made up by men from the newspapers. The first time I laid eyes on a newspaperman, I thought, well then, does your mother know you're out? They wouldn't know the truth if they fell over it.
Grace, who is Mary Whitney? It's written underneath your portrait, at the front of your confession. Grace Marks, alias Mary Whitney.
Oh yes. That is not a good likeness of me at all.
And Mary Whitney?
That was just the name I gave when James McDermott was running away with me.
And you just gave any name that came into your head?
Oh no, sir. Mary Whitney was once a particular friend of mine. She was dead at the time, sir, so I didn't think she would mind me borrowing her name. She often lent me her clothing too. She was always very kind to me. And if without her, it would have been a different story entirely.
Will you tell me your story, Grace? As the real one is not written in your confession, as you say. Will you tell it to me?
What part of it?
From the beginning.
Well, what it says in my confession at the beginning is true enough. I did indeed come from the north of Ireland. Although I found it rather unjust when they wrote both of the accused were from Ireland by their own admission. It made it sound like a crime, and I don't think being from Ireland is a crime, although I've often seen it treated as such. But my family were Protestant, and that is very different.